Manchester United fans, this is big. Casemiro's future just took another shocking twist. Kobbie Mainoo has finally broken his silence on Ruben Amorim, and Michael Carrick has sent a huge message to United supporters. Plus, tensions explode after the FA Youth Cup heartbreak, and even Man City are furious. Stay tuned, because this story keeps getting crazier. Michael Carrick tells Manchester United fans what they want to hear about Casemiro. Casemiro will say goodbye to Old Trafford on Sunday when Man United face Nottingham Forest in their final home game of the season. Michael Carrick has confirmed Casemiro will be available for Manchester United on Sunday as the Brazilian prepares to say farewell to Old Trafford. The 34-year-old missed the draw with Sunderland last weekend, sparking fears his United career could already be over. But he has returned to training this week and is in line to start against Nottingham Forest. Casemiro will leave the club after the final game of the season after 4 years at Old Trafford. He has experienced some highs and lows during his time at the club, but his spell under Carrick has been excellent and the head coach was full of praise for his impact. "Cassie's available," said Carrick. "I can speak for since I've been here and met him and worked with him. He's been fantastic for us, for me personally, for us as a group, what he's given us. I've said it before, the clarity helps of knowing the situation, and for him and for us to get his head in the place where he gives absolutely everything in every aspect, knowing that it's going to come to an end at the end of the season. And like I've said before, it's credit to him for the way he's gone about that. And just because it's coming to the end and there's clarity with it, it's easy to go the other way as well. But he's fully invested, he's fully supported us as the staff and the performances that he's given. He's obviously had some ups and downs like we all have in football and over the years, but to finish so strongly and to see that connection that he has got with the supporters is really good to see. While Casemiro is available this weekend, it looks like it might come too soon for Benjamin Sesko, who missed the game last weekend with a hip injury. Ben's not as straightforward. He's still not 100%. Apart from that, we're all right, said Carrick. Kobbie Mainoo breaks silence on Ruben Amorim treatment that put Man United career in doubt. Kobbie Mainoo found himself regularly overlooked by Ruben Amorim, but insists he was confident Manchester United fortunes would come back round, which happened as soon as the Portuguese boss was sacked. Kobbie Mainoo admitted that he had to consider all options at Manchester United after being ostracised by ex-manager Ruben Amorim, only to be revitalised under Michael Carrick. Mainoo enjoyed a meteoric rise when he first got his chance under Erik ten Hag, scoring in an FA Cup final and playing for England at the Euros within 12 months of his debut. However, his career stalled when Amorim arrived at Old Trafford. The Portuguese coach used the midfielder sporadically, often leaving him on the bench. Amorim claimed he rated Mainoo, but said he was only suited to the role Bruno Fernandes, United's talisman and captain, played in his system. That ultimately limited the midfielder's minutes and opportunities. It led to suggestions of a move away for the academy graduate, who would have represented pure profit given he came through the club's system. But he remained and insists he was always confident he would find his back. He told Sky Sports, "When there's new managers, they have their way that they want to play, and if they think you don't fit that, then you don't fit that." The 21-year-old, who recently signed a new deal, went on to say, "Going from playing nearly every game to not playing as often is always going to be a difficult adjustment. It was good for me in terms of learning myself, the game, and patience. It's difficult when you don't even come on as a sub, of course, but I'd say my family and my friends helped me see the light at the end of the tunnel. They knew it would swing back my way at some point, so I just had to be patient." And while Mainoo insisted his only long-term plan was to play for Manchester United, he did admit that he had to weigh up the possibility of leaving his boyhood club. He added, "When you're not playing many games, or any games, you consider all things. But at the forefront of my mind was always to play for Manchester United and continue to play for this club that I've grown up at." Amorim was axed in January after months of poor results. He stuck stubbornly to his system, which only allowed for 2 midfielders, and that ultimately cost him. Carrick has returned to a more conventional system, picking 3 midfielders, one of which has been Mainoo. The former United boss was previously forced to defend his selection calls and once said, "I understand what you are saying. You love Kobbie. He starts for England. But that doesn't mean that I need to put Kobbie in when I feel that I shouldn't put Kobbie in. So it's my decision." Jamie Carragher and Rio Ferdinand in new row after public Casemiro U-turn. Jamie Carragher and Rio Ferdinand have fired shots at each other on social media after the former admitted his Casemiro remarks from 2024 were somewhat excessive. Rio Ferdinand claimed that Jamie Carragher makes more U-turns than Keir Starmer after he accepted that his criticism of Casemiro 2 years ago was excessive. The Sky Sports pundit made one of his most viral comments when he told Casemiro to leave the football before the football leaves you, following a below-par display in a loss at Crystal Palace. Carragher suggesting the Manchester United star needed to head to the MLS or Saudi Arabia. He felt his days at the top level were over, but Casemiro has since rediscovered his best form. The Brazilian will leave Old Trafford this summer, but has posted one of his best seasons since moving to England, proving crucial in the team's rise to the Champions League spots. Carragher's 2024 comments have been thrown at him over recent months as the United midfielder proves he can more than cut it in the Premier League, publicly claiming that he found the criticism disrespectful. As a result, Carragher has revisited his comments, owning the fact that some of it was over the top, leading to Ferdinand poking fun at the ex-Liverpool man. Carragher said in The Telegraph, "It must be acknowledged that the implication that Casemiro was finished at the highest level was too harsh and premature." He also added, "This week, Casemiro suggested my remarks were disrespectful, and that is fair enough. Anything he says in response comes with the territory, although I would counter and say no disrespect was intended. Quite the contrary. Because of his stellar career, it was natural to compare Casemiro to the extraordinarily high standards he set for himself." Carragher did claim that United would not repeat the trick of signing a player in his 30s on a 4-year deal with big wages, underlining the fact they know they went too far with the Casemiro transfer. In response to Ferdinand, the Sky Sports pundit hit back by saying not a full U-turn, but credit where it's due to Casemiro for looking after himself properly while playing for one of the biggest clubs in the world on $350k a week. I'll await your full U-turn on support for Infantino and his World Cup ticket prices. Ferdinand was part of the World Cup draw and claimed he was a man of the people and wanted things to be accessible, but then suggested that the mammoth ticket prices were justified because of the product being put on. Manchester United set target for Michael Carrick announcement as head coach sends message to players. Michael Carrick is set to be confirmed as the permanent Man United head coach, and his appointment could be announced this weekend. Manchester United are hoping to confirm Michael Carrick's appointment as the club's next head coach before the final home game of the season against Nottingham Forest on Sunday. Talks are underway between the club and Carrick to extend a contract that was due to expire at the end of the season, and the 44-year-old is set to sign a 2-year deal with the option of a third. Negotiations are also taking place with Carrick's coaching staff, and all of Steve Holland, Jonathan Woodgate, Johnny Evans and Travis Binion are expected to sign new contracts to stay at the club. United have won 10 of Carrick's 15 Premier League games in charge, and the football leadership team recommended his appointment as permanent head coach this week. With Carrick keen to stay on, contract talks were expected to be reasonably straightforward, and United are keen to announce the appointment in time for Sunday's fixture against Forest, which kicks off at 12:30 p.m. That is considered a soft deadline and would offer clarity before the final home game of the campaign. But if talks aren't finalised before then, United will be still happy to announce Carrick's appointment next week. The former United midfielder confirmed during Friday's press conference that his future would be decided swiftly, despite doing his best to stay tight-lipped about the job. "The future for me is going to be decided pretty soon. We knew that. Nothing has changed. There is no big swing on that," said Carrick, who spoke of his pride at having played a part in United's renaissance this season. "It's a unique football club, a special football club, you know, and I'm mentally proud to have come back and to be a part of it, to help. As a supporter, as an ex-player and an ex-employee is one thing, but as a pure supporter and caring about the club so much to be in a position to come back and help and for as a group to move forward was important, I think, and to make the big step to get back into the Champions League is good, and we're obviously happy with the work that we've done so far. United are on course to finish third this season, and Carrick has told the players the target next season will be to find a way to improve on that. You've always got to aim upwards, he said. That's just the beauty of football and the beauty of competition. To achieve something, to then back it up, to then improve on things. I think that's always the challenge. For the players, for the squad, for a whole group, for the football club, we want to keep moving in a positive way and in the right direction. And the closer you get to the top, obviously the less room for progress. But progress is certainly what needs to be aimed for. JJ Gabriel, reaction and Man City fury. How Manchester United reacted to FA Youth Cup heartbreak. Man United's U18s lost 2-1 to Man City in the FA Youth Cup final, losing out on the trophy after a late goal. Pep Guardiola stood with a glass of red wine in the boardroom at the Joie Stadium as Manchester City celebrated winning the FA Youth Cup. The podium collapsed as City's players wildly celebrated with the trophy, but most of Manchester United's players had walked away at that stage. There were only two United youngsters left watching, Samuel Lusale and JJ Gabriel. Lusale attempted to lift Gabriel to his feet, but the teenager was so crestfallen he did not move from the turf. United's head of academy performance, Matt Walker, spotted Gabriel and made a beeline for him. Walker finally got Gabriel back up from the ground and he put an arm around him as they returned to the dressing room. Amir Ibrahimov also supported Gabriel when the players picked up their Youth Cup runners-up medals, chaperoning his mate back to the remainder of the squad after spotting how disappointed he looked. City players Charlie Courtman and Caden Braithwaite commiserated with James Overy and Nathaniel Junior Brown, while City celebrated after the whistle. For some of the players who featured in the Youth Cup final, it was their last chance to win the competition. The younger players in the group will have another bite at the cherry next season, but that was no consolation after losing the most coveted trophy in academy football to City. Gabriel is young enough to get another few cracks at the Youth Cup, which is for players under 18 at the start of the season, but he could quickly progress beyond the point of playing in the competition. Kai Rooney watched on from behind the bench in his Paul Smith club suit. Rooney was given minutes in the early rounds of the Youth Cup, but he will play a more prominent role next season. City's post-match celebrations stung Fletcher, who believed they were excessive. The U18 United boss spoke to journalists after the final whistle and criticised City for reading out the names of individual coaches during celebrations. Last week, when the under-21s played at the Joie Stadium, the names of City's goal scorers were announced over the tannoy, but not United's goal scorers. City officials noted that Fletcher, who was frustrated by the manner of the celebrations and the fiasco over where the final would be played, approached FA officials while the presentations were underway to air his views. City declined to comment on Fletcher's complaints, but it is understood their officials privately reacted with amusement because his sons, Jack and Tyler, were sent to City's academy in their formative years. That seemed like a bizarre reference, given Fletcher was not critical of City's academy system. He was merely unhappy with how the celebrations were handled and the circumstances around the venue being chosen. Both Jack and Tyler Fletcher have made their United senior debuts since leaving City in the summer of 2023. It's understood the pair have no regrets over transferring between the two Manchester clubs. The reference to the Fletcher twins added to the needle between City and United around the Youth Cup final, with City having been irked by the coverage and reaction over the decision not to play the game at the Etihad. City received special dispensation to play their Youth Cup fixtures at the Joie Stadium this season, but it's understood the FA was supportive of the game being played at the Etihad, if possible. United offered Old Trafford to host the game, but City declined, before hitting back at complaints over their decision to play the final at the Joie Stadium. City's club website referenced a sold-out Joie Stadium crowd in the aftermath of the game, but there were empty seats spotted in different areas of the ground during the game, which contributed to the lack of a cup final feel. However, the presence of Michael Carrick and Guardiola, along with first-team players from both clubs, underlined the game's importance. Bruno Fernandes, Mason Mount and Luke Shaw arrived early and had to be moved from their seats due to the volume of selfie requests from fans. They were later joined by Patrick Dorgu and Aidan Heaven. United's players posed for photo opportunities with some City fans, while Antoine Semenyo spent around a minute taking photos with supporters at half-time. Fletcher praised the support from United's first-team staff and players, saying, "It's brilliant, you know, for the players to show that keen interest. It shows they're connected to the club, for the manager, for all the hierarchy. Everyone's connected to the youth players, and I can't stress how powerful it is when you see the manager at the game for these young players and for their families and for the first-team players to take a keen interest. And as you say, probably 90% of our lads have experienced training with the first team this season as well. So the players look after them, and it just shows the togetherness that we have in a group. And I want to thank them all for doing that, because I know how much it means. I've been there myself. And, again, I think that's just a good sign for Manchester United going forward and where we are as a competition now." Fletcher answered further questions about the game and admitted that the best team won. Despite his frustration with City's celebrations and the FA, he heaped praise on their performance and their U18 manager. What the future holds for Fletcher was also discussed. He wants to go into management, so he felt it was the right choice for him to return to his U18 manager role after serving as first-team caretaker boss for 2 games. Fletcher declined the chance to join Carrick's backroom staff. Asked whether he would continue with the U18s next season, he said, "Yeah, listen, exactly. There's no other thought behind it. It's not that you go for the Youth Cup. You do go for the Youth Cup in terms of competition that everyone looks towards, but it's really difficult to win. So it'll be a new team, it'll be a different team, and we'll see what challenges lie ahead for us. And we talk about development all the time, and probably the Youth Cup is the one time where it is a little bit more about picking your strongest team and playing to win. But within that, there's still lots of development. So, yeah, that's where my mind's at just now, for sure." The academy clashes between United and City could be even more interesting next season.